Hey again, everybody. So I'm back at my apartment. Just flew back on Wednesday, well, yesterday, um, and went pretty smoothly. Got to the airport around like 5 a.m. Um, and checked in. Security was smooth. Everything was good. And then made it in. Had to take a train, like an hour train ride to my apartment, but that wasn't a huge deal. And yeah, we made it back safely, made it back good. So um, settled back in. I'm all unpacked and ready to go. And finally, I've had a chance to sit down and talk. So in this video, I want to talk about, from the title of it, you can see that everything is beautiful from a distance. And um, this is something I am trying to keep in mind as I go into this next semester and with some recent news. Um, so last semester, I was taking some introductory courses. I have all my generals done, so I'm ahead on that front. And now I'm just kind of trying to narrow down exactly what I what I want to do. Well, last semester, and I've mentioned this in a previous video, I was taking introductory courses to get into the 3D game design program that's at my school. And this is my first attempt because at the end of it you submit a portfolio. You can only do that every December, um, and so this was my one try for this for 2023 for me to do it. And if I wanted to try again, I think I could submit in the summer, but there's only select submission times for it. And so this was my first attempt, and I wasn't super confident. This is something that I do want to do, but and I did fairly well in the courses, but my portfolio I felt was kind of lacking. Well, I got an email a couple days ago that I was actually accepted, which was a bit of a shock. I wasn't really expecting that I was going to be, and I was already kind of planning a plan B. If I didn't get in, I already knew what I would switch my major to, and kind of what my college trajectory was going to be, should I not make it in. But I did, and so I have a call with my advisor tomorrow to go over everything, kind of what it's going to look like. Um, but I'm keeping in mind, that this is a fantastic opportunity for me. And I have a rough idea of what my schedule is going to look like from here on out. It's not going to change what I'm going to be doing this semester, but in the years ahead, it's going to be pretty straightforward and pretty set in stone of what the program is going to be like. And it's going to involve a lot of driving, because I do most of the teaching for at a different campus, um, and so I'm going to have to kind of figure out where I'm going to be living next year, and all that kind of stuff. And but with anything with anything positive, I think especially with uh, relationships or things that seem really good at the start, but it's going to be like you're going to have to put work into it, and that there's going to be ups and downs. That everything looks beautiful from a distance. That the idea of a lot of things is always a lot sweeter than actually doing it. And um, so I've been thinking about this and kind of how this applies to a lot of different things, even small things, like for example, going to the like I had to do a lot of grocery shopping today because I'm settling back in, needed new food. And it's funny, like while you're grocery shopping, you always pick up at least one or two things that you don't really need, but that you want. And then you come back, and you're like, I didn't really need this. Like that was kind of a waste of money. I don't know if I'm actually gonna use this. And so even small things like that, where it looks, metaphorically beautiful, um, and but once you really have it, you're like, I don't really know what the use for this is. And so, um, and not that everything seems beautiful, and that it not, and that it is not. there are still plenty of things that seem beautiful, and they are. Um, but I think it's important to kind of keep ourselves in check, that we aren't kind of expecting that we aren't going into it with a full expectation that it's going to be as good as it seems to be. Um, and this is kind of a good way to kind of check ourselves to not overly excite or invest too heavily in one thing, that we kind of spread ourselves out more, and see what our full field of options is. Um, and so yeah, and I think this really applies to people as well, and kind of comes down to the core understanding that we're all imperfect, that we all have some kind of problem, and you don't really learn about the problems that people have until they've really opened up to you. And people do their best to cover things up that they don't think other people are going to approve of, or that they're going to like. And they really try to cover those things up really until the time is right, until they can fully trust that other person. To an extent, I think that that's good. I think that it is, best to display your best qualities, and those sorts of things. Show what you have to offer to other people, but without lying to yourself, without like without having things that you are going to know that you're going to have to cover up for a long time. And I think that the truth is always going to be the better option. And that's not to say that when you first meet somebody, you should just tell them everything, or just kind of dump trauma or anything that you have negative onto them, but that it shouldn't be a game of okay, well, once we're kind of here, then I'll tell them this, because if it's something that is important that the other person should know, if they're going to be in a relationship with you, you should let them know, and let them know in the softest way possible. But also, I think that there's an assumption that with our worst qualities, that as soon as somebody finds out about them, that's it, they're gone. And while this is true with some people, those aren't the kind of people that you want involved with you. And that's why it's kind of good to let those things be known a little bit earlier on than you maybe feel is right, because it's going to quickly tell you who that other person is. And if that person, after a set amount of time, being around you, can't tell that you are a good person despite whatever negative thing that may be, they're not the right person for you. And this has been something that I've gone through with a lot of people, where I never quite get past that surface level, friendship or even a dating relationship with people, and I'm never quite able to get past that because they don't really want to open up. They don't want to share, maybe something negative that is going on. They maybe don't fully trust me to, confide in me for problems that they have, which is, completely understandable in a lot of situations. Although I think that ultimately, when you've been around a person long enough and there's a trust there, that you should go for it. You should be vulnerable to share those things, because ultimately it's going to show you whether or not they are going to be a true friend or not to you. And not that that's the only reason why you should do that. Communicating and getting things out that would otherwise be kept in, is a therapy and is going to help. And so yeah, something to think about, especially for kind of my fellow students out there as we're going into this new semester. I know some of you have probably already started, but as you meet new people, it's good to have your guard up to a certain extent, but that you are going to be beautiful to people from from a distance, but if you can be beautiful to them once they're up close as well, then that's all the better. And so I think being completely transparent is not expected, but that at a certain point, being that way and trusting other people displays your trustworthiness, and your security of you. And so being willing to share those things is a strength, not a weakness. And this is certainly something that I'm thinking about going into this new semester, and kind of all the things that I'm going to have going on. So yeah, but things are pretty good. I start the new classes on Monday, so kind of nervous. I got some different courses this semester, but I have a couple that I'm pretty pumped for. I'm taking a rock climbing class, so that'll be a lot of fun. I've always wanted to kind of get into that a lot, but never quite, broke the ice on it. I've been to a couple climbing gyms. There's tons where I live, so but I've never really had the right person to go with. So hopefully this class will kind of ease me into it. But yeah, so hope the new year is treating you guys well. We are now 4 days in, and I hope we're keeping at it, keeping it up, and trying to stay consistent with those goals. So yeah, but that'll be about it for now. Thanks for listening, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.